All right, continuing the Stephen King Fest, we're on to Dolores Claiborne, which is interesting because unlike the most of his novels, or unlike any of his other novels, it's written like a monologue. It literally has no chapter breaks. It's start to finish, and you're hearing the confession of Dolores Claiborne herself, who is being accused of murdering somebody she was taking care of, but she didn't do it, and she'll attest to that. But she'll also admit that she's done something else, i.e. killed her significant other years ago, and then the story goes from there. It was adapted into a movie starring Kathy Bates, who was in Misery. And I don't have a very vivid memory of the movie, but I do remember thinking, this is great. And you've revisited it recently, and you thought so as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it did a great job because it's a hard thing to adapt because, as you say, it's told in the form of a confession. Yeah, it's really great. As a kid, I didn't watch it because it was one of those things where I found out, there's no horror in this, I'm not going to watch it, even though it has Kathy Bates from Misery. I remember my parents watching it and liking it. I wanted to revisit it because of who was behind it, and yeah, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful like drama thriller, Oscar worthy. Honestly, it was pretty overlooked when it came out, I think.
It's also worthy to note that the events taking place in Dolores Claiborne, well, they don't center, but in the backdrop we know of an eclipse, and this also is links it to Gerald's Game and Storm of the Century. Mm-hmm. In fact, this is taking place on the same island as Storm of the Century, while Storm of the Century is kind of going on. Mm. So anyway, any hoots, we'll move on to Nightmares and Dreamscapes, which is another short story collection. And it had several stories that have been adapted into movies, most of which I have not seen. Dolan's Cadillac, which I have not seen. I don't know if any of you guys seen it. I don't know. Maybe it's good. I saw the Rotten Tomatoes rating for it. It's not so great. But then again, Rotten Tomatoes stinks. So whatever. It stinks. It might be good. The Night Flyer, which I know you love and I love too. It was a pretty cool adaptation, man. And it took its own unique liberties. And check it out. It's pretty cool.
It's also very close in the way that The Mist is in a lot of ways, even though it took some liberties.
Really?
There are passages that are really right out of verbatim.
It has 4 of the other stories in here were in the Nightmares and Dreamscapes TV series, which I haven't seen. Unfortunately, none of us have. So maybe that's good. Maybe that's not. And finally, Chattery Teeth, which was confusingly adapted into Mick Garris, Quicksilver Highway, which also adapted another body-themed story, Clive Barker's The Body Politic, into Quicksilver Highway, which I was like, what the fuck is this movie, first of all? And second, why would you get these two I don't know, I didn't understand why. And it wasn't particularly a good movie. And
I love that story, though, Chattery Teeth.
Yes, I love Chattery Teeth. I love The Body Politic from Clive Barker.
Terrible,
but yeah, what the fuck? I don't understand why.
It doesn't have Rainy Season, that collection, does it?
It might. I don't.
I really love that story. I don't remember it.
I'm gonna say it does.
Oh yeah, that's a great one with with man-eating toads. A reign of man-eating toads.
You had man-eating toads.
Oh, if you haven't read it, it's awesome. There's this, in brief, there's this couple coming through this town on their way somewhere. They stop and they run afoul of a weird local proprietor of a shop who says like, it's the rainy season. You don't want to stay around for the rainy season. They're like, yeah, whatever. We can handle a little rain. Then they go.
To toads.
Yeah, they go to a house. I forget if they're summering in the place or whatever, and they never summered in the rainy season before. And the rainy season that they're warned about is a reign of toads, which normally wouldn't be so unpleasant, but the toads have like mouths full of needle sharp teeth, and they invade the house, and I guess I spoiled it, and eat the
you don't have to read anymore.
It's wonderful though. It's wonderful. Yeah.
They should make that into a film.
I know.
Which oh my god, this would be the scene. A guy goes up to the door, right? Because they're in the house. Knocks on it from the inside for some reason. Oh no, maybe he goes just to look through the people or something. Whatever. Knocks on it like more. And then through the mail slit, toads fly in and bite his nuts.
Oh my god, yes. I'm in. I'm down. That's on rewatch.
Coming soon from a film by Senor Spielbergo.
From the $10 Slimer. It's our first feature film for YouTube Red.
For the toads, I always picture the Guillermo del Toro toad in Pan's Labyrinth, just with needle teeth.
Guillermo del Todo?
Yeah.
Next, we have a kind of divisive novel. I know Stephen King kind of calls it, long-winded, and that's a lot coming from Stephen King. Insomnia, and I love Insomnia because once again, yeah, I do. Yes, I can relate to it. Insomnia has. I can see people not liking it because literally for 400 pages, you're just
old folk, right?
Yeah, you're just kind of toting around with old folks, and but it has. It immerses you into your life and through their uneventful lives, no less, in such a way that you just kind of like go, okay, I just got to see what happens next. Even though nothing is happening literally for 400 pages. But when the stuff does start happening, it gets really interesting, and it's tied quite deeply into the Dark Tower series. Basically, these people have insomnia, and as a result of that, they become privy to things that normal people can't see. I won't spoil it, but it is worth, as some people have claimed that it's a slog to read through, it is worth getting through that. I didn't think it was a slog. I did think it's not for everyone, but it is pretty damned cool, man.
You like old folk.
Yes.
Good.
And if you read the Dark Tower series, it does link heavily into it with mentions of the Crimson King and his acolytes and what have you. Opinions? Have you?
I have not read that one actually, but I will based on your recommendation. It always intrigued me. The premise, and my feeble mind at that age thought like, oh, it's gonna be some guy with insomnia fights vampires. I don't know why. I thought that,
Quite the contrary. But yeah, man, check it out. Check it out. I recommend it.
Vampires? Vampire toads?
Yeah.
Next we have Rose Matter, which unfortunately I don't have a copy of, but
you're making me madder.
Yes. Rose Matter is interesting in the sense that once again it expands the multiverse concept of the Dark Tower series without being super directly attached to it. But basically it's about a woman that has been beaten her whole life and finally decides to walk away, and she ends up at a women's shelter. Begins to find roots in her new life, and she takes inspiration from this painting. If I remember it correctly, it's a painting of this Greek mythological figure, and she begins to literally go into the painting. And Rose Matter is what she calls the woman in the painting, both because the color of her dress, Rose Matter, and because she's fucking insane. But anyway, in this alternate universe, in this painting, she finds the doppelganger of her husband, which is it's basically what do they call it? It's basically a minotaur guy, basically in a maze. But it's strange, man. It's a mixture of king with Greek mythology, and it's all tied into the Dark Tower. You don't have to read the Dark Tower to appreciate it, but it's a really good book, and I think it's one of his least appreciated books. But it's definitely worth checking out. Next comes a couple of badass little books here.
Little?
We're talking Desperation and the Regulators. And they're, again, playing off the idea of all universes exist next to each other. They're the same characters, only this one's in a mirror universe. He wrote this one, released this one as Richard Bachman, The Regulators. And they're the same characters that are in Desperation, only in this mirror universe. So in The Regulators, Stephen King is a writer, and in Desperation, Richard Bachman's a writer. I've only read Desperation, and I'll tell you why I didn't read Regulators. Because I was so familiar with the characters as they were here that it was always so hard to get into this one, because I was like, oh god, these characters are completely different in this, and it was strange to read. But now that it's been so many years, I'll revisit it. But Desperation, I think, is one of his best books. Unfortunately, it was adapted into a horrible
hit.
Yeah, to the #1 hit adaptation from Mick Garris. Man, it sucked.
By the #1 hit director, Mick Garris.
That was a terrible adaptation of such a fantastic book, man.
And it could have been so good with Perlman.
Ron Perlman is great.
Yeah,
Let's just say that.
Yeah, he is, and he's good in the movie, but
It stinks like a sphinx.
The movie's terrible, man.
I haven't seen it, and yet I'm saying it does.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
Suffice it to say, the movie was underwhelming, but the book, definitely check it out. Great classic King. Okay, next we got Bag of Bones, which again I haven't read, but it was adapted into a movie by Mick Garris.
Damn it!
So we can safely
Mick, what the hell?
we can safely say that the book is good, but the movie probably stinks. Next, one of my favorites, man, Storm of the Century. This is actually a screenplay. It was the only screenplay of his released in book form. But it's a screenplay, and they adapt. Obviously, they adapted. It's fucking written for the screen. But they made a TV series of the same name, and it is fucking badass, man. Storm of the Century is so great. First of all, it captures the small town feel again. Second, the setting is so moody. Third, the villain is amazing. Andre Lenoge comes in the midst of this crisis to this small island town, and he refuses to leave until they give him what he wants. And what he wants, well, I won't spoil it to you, for you, but it's freaking badass, man. I love it. One of my favorite Stephen King anythings.
Me too, absolutely. It's probably the best miniseries he's ever done. Initiated himself, worked on himself. Yeah, it's just beautiful, devastating. It's his take on the lottery in a lot of ways. I remember it being quite an event for me when I first saw it. I was like, wow, that's just genius television. Yeah,
definitely check that out. Yeah. The Girl Who Loved I would just like to say that in between this time, he wrote an episode for The X-Files, which I remember being kind of like, oh, it wasn't bad. It was just kind of like, here's a combination of my two favorite things in the world at the time. And then I was like, oh, all right. The episode's called Chinga, which coincidentally is a bad word in Spanish.
Which is all I can fixate on whenever I hear that.
Chinga.
Is that what it was meant to be that, or
yeah,
that's the title that I don't know why he called it Chinga. I don't know what that reference is for him, but for us, it's a bad word,
and it's great for that reason, and that reason alone. Then he wrote The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, which basically is a kind of like a survival tale with a little girl lost in the woods, and more of a psychological angle to it. Initially, I was kind of let down by the end, but I couldn't deny, and I figured out why, because it's so good up to that. It's just that. But upon revisiting it, it's fantastic, man. And it's unfortunate George Romero did not ever get to make his adaptation of this, because it's great.
And it's maybe unfortunate that it currently rests with current Toby Hooper. Like, he is attached to it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, he's not at the height of his powers nowadays.
I have not read it, though, so I need to, because I hear good things.
Yes,
obviously.
it's fantastic, man. Check it out. Next, I have Heart and Atlantis, which they took. No, I didn't know they didn't. No, yeah, they did.
They took your heart.
But they took my heart.
to Atlantis.
That sounds kind of fun.
It's
might be in a better place.
I think it's 2 novellas and 3 short stories, if I remember correctly. I don't remember precisely. Some of them are linked to the Dark Tower, but what links all of them is the idea, the themes of the baby boomers not living up to what they were supposed to be. Interestingly, it was adapted into a movie called Hearts from Atlantis, but that actually adapted Lowmen in Yellow Coats, and I forgot what the other story I wrote it. Heavenly Shades of Night, and it had nothing to do with Hearts in Atlantis, the story. So that's weird. I never saw the movie. What did you think?
Oh my god, that's so good. It's such a good movie. I don't know how sentimental you'll find it or not. It kind of got an underwhelming response. People have found it a little too sentimental. Right. But it was written by William Goldman again. I think one of his great screenplays, and he did that for a reason. He truncated it that way for a reason. He found that those stories worked the best in terms of a movie, because the novel is just so sprawling. He is a stickler for like cutting shit down to the bone. Like, he does not like long ass movies or whatever, so he tries to get it down to a reasonable length, whatever he's doing. It's a beautiful movie. I think it's Anthony Hopkins is the lead character. He's great in it. Anton Yelchin is Yelchin. How do you say his name?
Oh yeah.
It was his first movie when he was a child actor. He's great.
Dead now?
Yeah, he's dead.
No, he's dead. Yeah,
that's the thing.
Oh yeah.
Killed him.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, that movie is being remade again. But
really?
I guess what is the story in the
Where's
novel?
Yelkin coming back?
Yeah, no, and he's not. He won't make a cameo. What is the story in the novel that's the one I'd really like to see brought to the screen? The story about, I guess it's one of the bullies of the child character Bobby Garfield in it, who is now like he's making a living. He has a family like in the city, but his family doesn't know that his living that he makes is going out and pretending to be like a panhandler pretending to be homeless and
Right.
panhandling. Like that's one of them, and that's a great segment in that novel. I thought that was a great idea always.
So we're getting a remake?
Yeah,
Or
we're getting a
readaptation?
remake. It's been announced very recently that they're gonna remake it again.
Huh.
Hearts in Atlantis.
Okay, well, I didn't even know that.
We'll see. Yeah, no, it's very, very recent, and I was like, what? Okay, whatever.
Okay, so next he wrote a series called The Plant, which was direct to ebook, right? I believe.
Yeah.
And he never got to finish that. And then right after that, he almost died. You know, he got this was 1999. He got hit by a vehicle, and he was pretty torn up, man. And he almost quit because he couldn't. He quit writing because he couldn't handle the pain of writing, sitting in the same position, etc. And he almost quit. But then, lo and behold, for some damn
relate right now, my ass is
for some
kill
damn
me.
reason, he took a bunch of OxyContin and was under the influence again, and he wrote this turd fest, Dreamcatcher,
that turd fest,
which spawned an even worse movie.
a hit film.
And I gotta say, I read the book, and the book's not horrible. What saves it is the king characters. You love king characters. I know you like the book. I didn't love the book. I found the characters to be charming, and then that's what lured me in. The story was fine enough, but I thought it was just kind of like an Alien It, and way weaker for it.
Fair enough. Definitely.
But I was fine with the book, whatever. But then the movie came out and raped me in the a-hole.
A hit film.
Lord.
We saw this theatrically. I remember.
I know.
With mom.
Yes.
Squid Mom.
That is a special occasion that I think only bonds people who went to go see that in the theater, and especially people who were telling, like me, and maybe you, presumably, who were telling people this cannot fail.
Yeah,
because
King Kasdan.
You had Lawrence Kasdan directing, who not only directed great dramas like The Big Chill and whatnot, he wrote fucking Empire Strikes Back, Raiders of the Lost Ark, like two of the greatest genre movies of all time. And you had him co-adapting this novel with William Goldman, who's written also some of the best Stephen King adaptations of all time, with this stellar cast. Like, literally, that is not a recipe for failure in any way, shape, or form.
And yet
you come out looking at your friends like,
I'm sorry.
you want to crawl into a hole and die.
Yeah,
like,
man.
You're the biggest fucking retard in the world for recommending that they watch this movie.
it was terrible.
That's pretty good.
Stephen King loved it. He must have still been high, I guess.
I remember moderately enjoying it, but I had no idea. I was like a kid at the time.
People do enjoy it.
I gotta rewatch it, see what I think about it now, because back then I was literally, it was Kasdan
I remember
King.
with you, we had kind of a Indiana Jones, King of the Crystal Skull feel where you're like, it was okay, and then you started hating it like daily.
Yeah. Grew to a fever pitch.
It's on Netflix.
Oh God, it is.
It's a piece of work. I mean, it's like it's even worse than you remember. Honestly, for those of you who know that it's bad, like it's even worse.
Okay.
So watch that.
So watch that now. Next, he wrote Rose Red direct for TV, which I thought was, by the numbers, kind of like Haunted House.
Yeah, that's the
type
perfect
of,
way to describe it.
It's not anything fantastic.
It's boring.
Yeah, it's kind of boring. Whatever. It wasn't great.
Better than Dreamcatcher?
Then he wrote, and this is one of my favorite books.
Yes.
I could have sworn I had it, but I apparently don't. How? He wrote From a Buick 8, which at this point in his career, it was kind of shaky.
I have that.
And then he come up with From a Buick 8, and I was like, man, this is fucking great.
Yeah.
Now, it's not a well-loved book by a lot of people, and I guess I can't blame him for that much. But I loved it, man. It was the right pitch. It wasn't one of his lengthiest novels, but I think considering especially what he had been kind of struggling with grabbing hold of himself again after the accident, it hit the right spot for me. Basically has to do with a guy.
That car hit him.
Yeah, the car comes back into the mix. It
does.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's about a car that was found back in the 70s and is being kept in the storage of the state troopers. And after the death of one of the troopers, his son goes to kind of visit the barracks, and he becomes obsessed with this vehicle, which turns out to be basically a gateway to another world. And weirdness ensues, and I thought it was fantastic. It was gonna be direct. There was gonna be a movie version with Romero at the helm, and that fell through as well, which is unfortunate. But what'd you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I love that book. It was a welcome return for him. Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly with you. He can take something that silly repeatedly. The car, what is the genre? Living car? I don't know.
Living car horror.
Yeah, there you go. And just knock it out of the park.
Car roar.
That I want to see that section in I was gonna say video store, but there aren't any video stores anymore.
We should open a $10 Slammer video store and have
hell
sections
yeah.
called car roar
It'll be very popular.
and dog horror.
Yes, oh my god, yes.
Okay, so let's move on to Everything's Eventual. I haven't read the majority of the stories in this, but those that I read were great. The ones that I read were fantastic. There was 2 movies that came out of this so far. That's Riding the Bullet from Mick Garris, which was actually not that bad. And it was starring David Arquette. It was actually pretty good.
David Arquette and Mick Garris, and it wasn't complete shit.
No shit, huh?
Yeah.
And 1408, which is based off of a really small story, and they made this big old movie out of it. And I found the movie to be, acceptable enough. It wasn't fantastic to me, but it was fine. Whatever. But I know a lot of people love it, so there's that. Next, we have.
You didn't get his opinion on 1408.
Oh, that's
it sounds
fine.
like he had a lot of to say.
No. It's I just don't. It was a great story, one of the best in the book. I don't think they. The horror in the hotel room is very strange and weird and very baroque and surreal, and they just. The horror in the movie is like, oh, it's freezing in here, it's snowing in here. That's fucking retarded. That's not scary.
Too generic.
Take all the imagination away from it.
Exactly, yeah, and it was just so disappointing to me. It wasn't bad though. It's just that was disappointing.
Yeah, that's really the letdown.
The scariness of it was disappointing.
I agree. Next, we have
now.
Yes.
I could have stopped you before you started, but I let you start because I'm a douchebag. We're gonna continue this
next time. And the final part of this fest.
The final part.